Hi, my name's Phyllis Solomon, and I'm with JCA Interages. And this is our Interages interview project that we started a little over a year ago. And we're so excited about it and have such interesting people to interview. Today we have Zaina, and she'll be interviewing Lori Gardner. So go ahead and take it away.
Okay, hi, I'm Zaina, and I'm going to ninth grade at BCC, and I'm excited to interview you. My first question for you is, what inspired you to get interested in reviewing food places, and how did they inspire you?
Interesting question. I have always loved food and loved going to restaurants and researching restaurants. So I don't know if it's actually an individual that inspired me. It was just kind of my own interest. I've always been a little obsessed with food. And so I have a Twitter account and it's Food Obsessed. And then I started my blog 11 years ago. And that's called Been There, Eaten That.
Wow, that's really cool. Next question is, do you enjoy cooking, or do you just mostly just go to restaurants and try stuff there?
Really great question. My husband is a really good cook. He does most of the cooking. I'm what I would consider a recipe cook. So if I make food according to recipes, but I don't actually really experiment too much, but I know food, eating in restaurants, I know what goes together. I like really flavorful things. So I like Indian food and Mexican food and Asian food in particular, because there's so much flavor in those cuisines. And so if I'm cooking for company or picking recipes, it's for the most part, it's going to have a lot of flavor and a lot of spice, because that's what I like to eat.
That's really cool. I think it's really good that you like to try a lot of different places. How has reviewing restaurants affected who you are now?
When I started, I did more of what would be called reviews. And then I realized that I'm not a food critic and it was just my opinion. And I would go to a restaurant, one or two times and write about it. So I don't really consider that reviewing, but I'm telling a story about a restaurant, maybe some of the background about a restaurant. I want to know where the chef came from, their point of view. I really stopped kind of judging restaurants a number of years ago because it's just my opinion. It's really affected my life in that there is in the DC area, I think, a food community of writers, bloggers, people who publicize restaurants. And so since I've been working in this hobbying, really, I've gotten to know a lot of people. And so I've gotten very actively involved in an organization of all people who, like chefs and restaurant owners and caterers and all of that. So it's affected me greatly and is a big part of my life.
That's great that you met so many people and learned so many new things because of food, really.
Yeah.
What did you do during COVID since you couldn't dine out?
So I thought it was really important during COVID to support restaurants. So my husband and I every weekend would get in the car, we'd drive downtown, and we'd pick sometimes 3 restaurants where we would order carryout, and I would get carryout for Saturday night dinner, Sunday lunch, Sunday dinner. I'd have a bag full, a car full of bags from different restaurants. And I would write about that and help support them. So I went to probably as many restaurants during COVID because I just was so passionate about supporting.
That's really sweet that you continue to go to restaurants and support them, even when there was a whole global pandemic going on. Another question is, what's a must-try restaurant in the DMV area?
Oh, that's a great question. My very favorite restaurant is called Anju. It's a Korean restaurant. It's in DC. I brought a lot of friends there. That's also really important to me. I want to introduce my friends to the restaurants I love, help inspire them, and then they'll bring more people. And then my other favorite restaurant that I wrote about, I just published today, is called Oyster, which actually serves oysters, but the rest of their food is vegan and vegetarian. And so I love kind of its very creative plant-based food, which I found really interesting and different.
Thanks for the recommendation. Since you are an experienced food blogger, what do you advise me to do when I'm looking for a good restaurant to go to?
So I think there's a lot of sources now online. I find Instagram like a great source for learning about restaurants. There's also Eater DC, which covers the whole DMV area. They publish lists of new restaurants and then just asking people where they like to go. But I think this past year, surprisingly, a lot of new restaurants have opened. And so I think they really need support because they, have had it's always a challenge to open a restaurant. It's an added challenge to open a restaurant in a pandemic.
Okay, thank you. That's actually all the questions that I have for you today. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come.
Yeah, I've enjoyed speaking with you. Thank you.
Thank you.